Dogs? Yeah, I like dogs. Let's check out this site here. This is called what-dog.net. It's a public site. You can play with it if you want. What it does is it looks at pictures of dogs and tells you what kind of dog it is. Here's a tough one here. What kind of dog is that? Yeah, it's a dog. So let's use that photo. And you were right. Let's try another photo here. That's actually, I have no idea what that is. Does anybody know? What is that? Shepherd? I don't know what you said. Border Collie? Did you say Border Collie? Good job. All right. And you can even actually, if I want to type, like, I don't know, Lassie. Remember Lassie? You guys probably too young to remember Lassie, but that was a TV dog from a long time ago. And you can search the web and find that Lassie is a collie. Yeah. So it's not just a setup. It's kind of cool. But here's another one that's doing something similar. It's looking at pictures and figuring out things about the pictures. In this case, instead of looking at dogs and telling you the breed, it's looking at people, finding the faces in those photographs where the people are, and then telling you how old they are. And it's got some sample ones in here. You can see that it does like across ages and skin colors, and even a 2-year-old has figured that thing out. I can use here. This one. I'll just grab a picture of me from about a year ago, and I'll just tell you that it's depressing how accurate this is sometimes. What's going on here is that the reason it knows, in some cases, more about these pictures than you and I do. Like I don't know the names of all these dogs. It's looked at a lot of pictures of dogs already. There's a program behind it. There's some software behind this that's doing machine learning. And the idea behind machine learning is that you take a lot of data and you tell it, I want to figure out how these properties of that data set are related to these properties of that data set. And generally it's done through kind of an iterative process. That it'll take a guess and it'll see how its guess worked, and it'll refine its guess and then go through it again. Machine learning, if you haven't worked with machine learning, it's a really good field to get into. Especially you guys in college are thinking about career changes. You can pretty much add 40% to your salary by adding machine learning or data science to your resume. Just put that on LinkedIn somewhere. Your email spam will go up exponentially. One of the problems with machine learning is that it's hard. It takes a lot of data, it takes a lot of compute power, and it usually takes a lot of time. And most of us don't have any of those things. But Microsoft does, and Microsoft has our cloud compute platform. I actually work for Microsoft. My name is David. I am a technical evangelist. That's my title for Microsoft. And my job is to learn cool technologies and teach them to you. And we've got in Azure, in our cloud platform, Microsoft Azure, we've got some nice tools that make it more accessible and easier to build machine learning solutions, but you still have to know the principles of machine learning in order to use those tools. So there is a barrier to entry, and I would not discourage you from learning that. But in the meantime, even if you don't know anything about machine learning, you can take advantage of the machine learning that's being done on the back end of these services. Because these websites are just calling web services behind them. And those web services are taking advantage of all this machine learning, all this data crunching, looking at hundreds of thousands of pictures of dogs and of people, and finding the ages and the breeds of those dogs and saying, okay, well, a collie has ears that are shaped like this, and hair that's this long, and a nose shaped like that, and so on. And it's got a good idea of what the properties of the picture are relative to what the breed of dog is, or what the properties of a face is, and what a 2-year-old looks like versus a 53-year-old man looks like. These have been exposed to you for use for free as Microsoft Cognitive Services. So to take advantage of it, you go to microsoft.com/cognitive-services. This rolls off the tongue. It used to be called Project Oxford before, when it was in beta. Here's the thing about Microsoft. We do a lot of things really well, but naming products is not one of them. We always have really good beta names for products. Project Oxford, it sounds really good. In fact, my original slide deck had jokes about the Oxford comma in it, and Cognitive Services, I don't know. But that's what it's called. Cognitive Services is what it's called. Go right here, and you can sign up for free. If you click on right here, get started for free, you will need what we call a Microsoft account. We used to call those live accounts. So if you have an Outlook.com email address or a Live.com email address, or even if you have a Gmail or a UIC email address, you can associate that with a Microsoft account. And sign in, And then you can use all these categories of services. There's some for vision, for speech, for natural language processing, searching the web, for doing knowledge search. Let me show it to you. Let me make sure I'm signed in here. Looks like I'm not. Usually I'm already signed in because I'm using some other service, email or OneDrive or something like that. I'm already signed in. So yeah, it looks like it took my credentials right away. And these are the ones that I've signed up for. And I say that they're free. When I say they're free, I mean that there's a certain number of times per month and a certain number of times per minute that you can call these services. And that's being tracked right here for each one of the services. So for example, for the face service, if I click on show quota, it usually takes a while to calculate this, but it'll tell me that I started this on January 5th, so probably the 5th of each month, this thing will reset. And I get, what do I get? 30,000 transactions per month. That's plenty to learn it, to build some sample applications, to publish them. If you wanted to build a business around this, where you're going to build a new Facebook and it's going to have these services behind it, then 30,000 might not be enough. Hopefully you'll be charging for it at that time. And then you could buy more. And when you buy more, you actually deploy it to Azure, and Azure is a highly scalable platform, so you get all the power of Azure here. So this is just going to spin forever, I guess. But it would tell me probably all 30,000. I don't think I've used any. Let's see, 27th. I've probably used a few of them. So probably like 29,900 and something are left for that. And the way that it knows that it's me is because every time I call the service, I have to pass one of these two keys here. And the reason there's two of them is because it's possible that somebody might see one of those keys. Like I might accidentally show it to you, and you might look at it really quickly, or it might be recorded by this camera here. So by the time this recording is released, I want to make sure I change that key, regenerate it. And while I'm regenerating, I would use the other key. So don't look when I show that key. That's a secret. You could, for example, call that 30,001 time. Next time I do the demo, it wouldn't work for me. All right, I guess this is spinning forever. It doesn't like me. All right, so what are these? These are web services. How do I use them? If I come down here to the APIs, you'll see here under vision, there's computer vision and emotion and face and video to do analysis of images, analysis of video, analysis of, it'll tell you things like what's in the picture, what are some of the, what's a reasonable caption for the picture, what are the faces in there, where's the eyes, where's the nose, where's the mouth, is he wearing glasses, is there facial hair, are they smiling, are they happy, are they sad, are they angry? Same thing in videos. There's speech recognition. It can tell whether or not it's me speaking. You can match a voice with a set of known voices. You could do your login like that. You could do authentication. Say, beginning of my application, speak this phrase, and it would match it to the known user's voice and say, that doesn't sound like you. Denied. All sorts of things here. We're going to focus mostly on the vision in this one. I only have about 45 minutes, so I'm going to cover just that. If I want to do this, let's dive into the computer vision right here. Then I have all kinds of links in here. The first thing is, I really love this. This is a demo of what's happening behind the scenes. So in the applications we saw, somebody built a website on top of that and had some nice, pretty pictures. But really what's coming back is JSON. And JSON is just a standard format for sending and receiving data across the internet. It's nice and terse. It's really small and compact, so it works really well across the internet. And the data that's in that JSON package that comes back from this particular API, this particular web service call, is this data. There's a description, so it'll look at a picture, and here we've got some sample pictures, and the description here in this one is a man swimming in a pool of water. So it did a pretty good job of figuring out what that picture is. There's some keyword tags in here, like water and sport and swimming and pool. There's information about the type of image it is, the JPEG, the size of it, whether or not it's clip art, whether or not it's a line drawing, whether it's black and white, is adult content or is racy content. These are kind of interesting because they are, it's not really, there is a true false here, but there's also a score. So it's 15% sure that it's adult content. I mean, it's probably not adult content. It's probably not zero because the man has a shirt on. But this is nice. This would be a nice thing. Let's say you build an application that you want to allow people to upload their own images and then show them to the public. Well, there's some risk involved in that. And if you did that, you'd probably want to make sure that they're not uploading dirty pictures. And so this would be a good way to analyze those pictures automatically and say, you know what, if that score gets above 30%, 0.3, I better have a human being look at this. I'll put it in a queue, a separate queue. Don't publish it until somebody vets it and makes sure that it is okay. I actually don't know what the difference is between racy and adult. I think they're similar, but yeah. And things about the color of the image, all sorts of things in here. I can select one of these here, like this. Let me grab one. Here's a line art drawing. there's actually a lion art drawing. So in that case, it's a black and white image. It's true. It's definitely not adult content, and it's a line drawing, and it's clip art as well. And it says here, what does it say? A close-up of 2 giraffes near a tree. So it's not perfect. So it's it's trying to figure it out. So it does better with photographs than with images. All right, let's talk about from the standpoint of developers, because a lot of people here are developers. They're writing in Python mostly, I imagine, since that's in the title of the conference. Here's the real beauty of it. Yeah, it's a tool from Microsoft, but you don't have to use anything at all Microsoft related in order to use this. It's just a web service. It is a REST web service. You can hit it with the post verb. You can post to a URI. You send some information to the header. You send some information to the body, and you get back some JSON. That any language can do that. Python can certainly do that. And if I go down to the documentation here, I'll see all sorts of information about how to use this thing. So if I come down to, where am I, the Vision API, let me grab the one we were just looking at, Analyze Image. And there's information, just kind of text about how to use this image and how it works. If I want to know more about how to call it, then I can select, not there, where is it? Go back. I can go to the API reference right here, and then here it'll tell me exactly how I'm going to call this thing. So in this here's the URI. It's an HTTP method. How many here have worked with REST before? Looks like about half the room has. So the idea behind REST is that I'm going to use the power of HTTP to manage some resource on the back end. In this case, the resource is information about these images. So all I have to do is make a web service call to a URI, and I can send some data to that as parameters, and I can receive some data back. And it's just like calling any other function inside of your application, except you're calling it over the internet using standards. So in this case, the URI I'm going to hit is this one right here, https://api.projectoxford.ai. That's the old, better name of this set of services, /vision/v1.0, that's all there is right now, /analyze, and then this optional query string parameters you can add to that. I'll hit that with the post verb, and the parameters that I can pass are, in the query string, I can pass the visual features. If I want to return the categories, the tags, the description, I can tell it to return as much as I want. The less I put in here, of course, the smaller the data package, the faster it'll be. But the more I put in here, the more data I'll get back. What kind of details that I want to get back? Right now, the only detail allowed is celebrities. It'll match up to see if it's a picture of Tom Cruise or Katy Perry or whoever celebrity is. And then in the header, I'm going to request the content type. And the content type can be either JSON, which means I'm going to pass some JSON in the body, or it'll be, if I'm going to send binary, it'll either be application octet stream or multi-part form data, depending on how I'm going to pass that binary data. So I can send the image itself, or I can just send JSON that, here's some JSON, it's just a URL that points to the image out on the web somewhere. And then I'll get back a bunch of JSON that looks kind of like this. Here's a sample of data that I would get back from here. It's just JSON. You can parse that out using whatever programming language you want in here. If you want to see that in action, there's actually a testing console. Let's do that. Let's grab this testing console. And in this case, I'll say the features I want. I'll just do the default here. I want to get the categories back. The content type will be JSON. That's how I'm going to send the body. Subscription key. Now I've got to grab that from here. From my account. So my subscription key for the Vision API sometimes if I shake my MiFi, it goes, there you go. That's a pro tip. That doesn't, I totally made that up. Computer vision. So everybody close your eyes. Let's copy that right there. All right, it's copied. And better hide it. And I'll just paste that into here. All right. And then this is a sample. Here's the body. I'll send this as the body right here. Let's grab that. And I want a picture of, I don't know, let's search for something. How about a picture of Bruce Springsteen? concert. I gotta spell concert right. Images. Let's see if that works. You guys remember Bruce Springsteen? There we go. That's a URL. It's a JPEG. Let's grab that and see what happens. So I'll just paste that. And this is my web service call. Click send. And I could get error. I mean, I'll get a response code back. HTTP always sends a response code. If it's 200, that's code for everything worked, everything's okay. If it's not 200, there might have been a problem. Anything that starts with 400 is a problem. And it'll give like if it's 404, for example, means not found. We've all typed the wrong URL in. So if I put a picture in that doesn't exist, I probably get a 404 back. 401 means not authenticated. That's a common one. If I type the wrong key in, I probably get a 401 back. But this is 200, so it came back okay. And here's the data. It says category. I only asked for the category, so it didn't give a whole lot of data back. So people show. Let me grab a different. Let's see. Another thing I was missing. Instead of doing the analyze image, let's do something a little bit more interesting here. And analyze, describe. I want to look at the emotions one. I'll tell you what. Rather than doing that, why don't I just show you some code samples? Let's do that. Code that I wrote. That's more fun. None of it's in Python, though. I don't even have a Python on this machine. But I don't think it really matters. I think it's for these purposes, you can see the HTTP call. If you can make a call in Python. Let me actually show you that if you want to do some Python, then on here, I think it's in our documentation, there actually is a, where did it go? Go back to here, Microsoft.com/cognitive services. There are samples on here for calling it in a lot of different languages. So if under developers, if I grab the documentation here, then I should be able to see for any one of these things. Where's my here? Emotion's an interesting one. The API reference. Then I think down here at the bottom. Oh, here we go, right here. So here's how I call it. That's my favorite language, C#, but right there's Python right here. Here's how you call that in Python. Import these libraries, headers equals that, params equals that. Got to scroll down a little bit to see it all. And just a few lines of code. In fact, they have it for Python 2.7 and for 3.2. So right here, you could copy and paste that into your code and start using this. And of course, you'd want to change the URL of the image that you're sending to. All right, let me grab some code that I wrote here. So we'll do the analyze image demo. Whenever there's awkward silence, I'm okay with it. It's only awkward for you guys. Here we go. So this is what is this? I've forgotten now. Oh, this is a Windows application. Looks like a UWP application. So in this case, actually, there's my subscription key. Don't look. There it is. I'm going to analyze an image. I'm going to grab it out of a text box. And what I've done, I've actually, this is kind of nice. It's for some languages, for some of the APIs, we actually have libraries that we can add. And there's a package manager in .NET where I can very quickly add libraries through this NuGet package manager. And I'm doing that here. So that's kind of nice for a lot of these things where I can, instead of having to write the HTTP calls myself, I can use this Vision Service Client, which is, right, where's the definition of that? Here's a Vision Service Client. So this is a library that I've imported. I pass in the subscription key, and now this Vision Service Client has methods like analyze image, async, which asynchronously analyzes the image. I pass in an image URL. I pass in a list of features that I want to get, and it will asynchronously return a result, and that result has things like a description, which has a number of captions. It also has a number of tags. And then I just go, it has a RACI score. So in this one here, what I'm doing is I'm looking to display on screen a description, a bunch of tags, and then I had a thing here that if the RACI score is above 0.3, then I have an image that says, oh, that's shocking, don't show that one. But let me show this right So even though I'm using this library, under the hood, all that library is doing is it's calling out to that web service. It's just a wrapper for that. It's nice to use that because then I get strongly typed data, get IntelliSense in my IDE, things like that. So I analyze this image here, and I'll call that web service, and I get a white cat looking at the birds, the caption, all these keywords here. I've got a little drop-down list here that says, there's my racy image here. It's not really that racy, but analyze image, and I'll get a caption and some tags. And this one, because it's above 0.3, I get, shocking, it's racy. And then this one here, I did this actually demonstration. I went down to Disney. They had an internal conference, and just before that, I got to suck up to Disney because, so I added this because Disney owns Star Wars now, and it did this analyze image on that one. And I thought the caption was interesting. Mark Hamill, it recognized Mark holding a bat. So it's recognized Mark, but didn't recognize the lightsaber. I thought that was interesting. And not at all racing. That's cool. All right, let me grab a couple of ones here. I don't think I show them all. The emotions demo. Let's do that one. Emotions demo. I like this one. In this case, there's an API that will not only look at the picture, but it'll find where all the faces are. And it'll tell you whether they're happy, sad, angry, surprised. And there's like 8 emotions. And what it does, it gives a score for each one, a score between 0 and 1. And so if it's extremely happy, it'll give you a 100% happiness score and 0% everything else. But usually our emotions are more complex than that. So in this case here, I've got, again, I'm using a library for this, just a wrapper for this that I'm passing in the key, this emotion service client. And when I call that, it has, the emotion service client has a method called recognize async, and that will call the emotion API. I'll call that web service. Under the hood, I'll pass in the URL of an image that I'm going to get from a Dropbox. And you'll be able to see the data that comes back. It's JSON, but the rest of this is just I'm going to parse through all that JSON that comes back and display it. Here, all this stuff here is just grabbing. See, I get scores for every face. For every face in the image, I get a set of scores, and there's a scores.anger, scores.contempt, scores.disgust, score for everything. That's a score between 0 and 1 to say how angry are they, how contemptuous are they, how disgusted are they. So here's one. There's a little girl. She looks pretty angry. So if I grab her emotions, it's going to call that, and I get back that I just put down the score. Anger is 0.93. Happiness is 0.0000. Not happy at all. And I looped through and found whatever the highest number was. Anger is the highest one. And let's see, this is what else I have here. This is sad LeBron. It was taken before the playoffs. He's not sad anymore. He's very happy. And so he's 91% sad, or he was a year ago when this was taken. It works for, this is cool, it works for multiple people. It's a whole bunch of people in here. Some of the faces are partly obscured, like this person in the middle here. And so I grab the emotions, and now I'll get actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 9 faces in here. They're all happy. They're all smiling. So happiness is the highest score in all those things. And it'll work for, these are 3 faces with different emotions. So one's neutral, one's happy, one's sad. And again, just before I went to Disney, I wanted to analyze, let me clear the responses here. I wanted to analyze Kylo Ren because he's a guy that hides his emotion really well. So no matter what, every picture, I did like 5 pictures of Kylo Ren, and every one of them is neutral. That's just like, I'm sure he's a fine actor, but he didn't show his range in this movie. That's all I'm saying. All right. Let me show you one I'm actually making the raw HTTP calls to. Actually, before we do that, I want to show you one thing. So I showed you the face demo. No, I didn't show you the face demo. Let me do that. Emotions, text. Face demo. I'll show you this one. This is in JavaScript. So in here, I'll just open this up in a text editor. So here we go. This is I'm writing some JavaScript here. Oh, I didn't show you. Where's my JavaScript? It's right here. Script. There's my JavaScript right here. In this case, I'm going to analyze some faces. It'll tell me where. So here we go. This is my subscription keys in another file. I grab that. I'm going to get the image URL out of the text box. You can type it in. There's a default for it. Here's the web service URL I'm going to call. So this is actually raw calling the web service itself. I'm really not using any library except for jQuery. jQuery has a nice syntax for making an AJAX call. So right here, here's what I call it. I said a post to the web service URL. That's this one, api.oxford.ai/face, the face API. In the headers, I give it the subscription key. The content type will be application/JSON, and the data, the JSON itself will be URL : whatever URL I pass to it. And then this also is asynchronous. In JavaScript, everything is asynchronous. So when it's done, it'll look through the data that comes back. And what I do is I draw a rectangle around where the face is. So this comes back. It tells me where are the corners of the face, and where is the eyes, and where is the mouth, where is the nose, and things like that. So I've got some labels that I just make them visible and position them where the eyes, nose, and mouth are. Let's go ahead and do that. Run this here. Oh, not that one, sorry. I want to run index. This one, right here. Here we go. So there's a face here, and the code ran because I've got a URL of a picture of this fellow right here with I drew a rectangle around where Cognitive Service told me the outline of his face is, and where his left eye is, and his right eye, and his nose, and his mouth, and so on. Here's the data that came back. It came as JSON, but I output it so it's a little bit easier to read here. It's a 55.5-year-old male. He's not smiling very much. He has reading glasses on, things like that. And I can change that with any other URL here. Let me see if I can find a URL of, give me a name, Barack Obama. I spell his name there. Obama. Images. See if I can find, there it goes, off-center one. There we go. Right. Nice Chicago guy. And out of here, there he is, and I figured out where he was. That's kind of cool. Now this one here, you'll notice, actually, I'm doing something that you probably shouldn't do. And what I'm doing is I'm passing, when I make this call, right here, notice I'm passing the subscription key from the client, my web browser, out to a server. That's a security risk. So this is for demo purposes. I wouldn't recommend because somebody could be sniffing packets along there somewhere, and they could read your subscription key, or maybe steal it, maybe change it, whatever. Whenever you pass keys, it's probably a good idea not to pass them directly from JavaScript or from a client application. What I like to do is this right here. What I like to do is create my own web service. And I've done that here. It's a web service that does nothing at all except call the Cognitive Services web service. But before it does it, it reads the API from some secure store. It reads that key from a secure store. And this is exactly the same thing, where instead of calling Cognitive Services directly, my JavaScript is calling my web service. This is my web service, and my web service is right here. Right here. And it is making the call to Cognitive Services. So there's the URL, there's my subscription key. I'm pulling it out of a config file. However you secure it, you should secure it. And then this thing actually makes a call to Cognitive Services. This is a better pattern here. And by the way, these are all available on my GitHub page. So if you want to see any of this code, I know I'm going really fast here because I only have 45 minutes, but it's all available at github.com/my name right here. I'll put the slide up at the end with that. And so the Cognitive Service demos are all available there. I'm going to go here. Let's see. We've got about 15 minutes left. I can't show everything. I could run this thing. I'll run it. What the heck? It's really the same demo we saw before. Exactly the same thing will happen. It'll show a picture of a face. It'll draw a rectangle around it, and it'll identify the eyes, nose, and mouth. But it's going through a proxy. It's going through some other service right here. So there it is right there, and there. Okay. All right. I think I had, oh, here's some more. I did this because I thought it was interesting that it works. That API works even if the person's wearing sunglasses. Still can figure out where their eyes, nose, mouth are, even if their head is tilted. it's actually pretty good. One of the things that you can have it return to you is the tilt of the head. So if you want to manipulate this image in some way, you can do that. Well, let me show you the text. I'm sorry, the OCR, optical character recognition. That's kind of a cool one. So in optical character recognition, it'll look at a picture of text, and it'll tell you what that text is. And the way it returns it is a bunch of arrays. There's like an array of text areas. So you may have a picture that has some text over here and some text over there. It'll send an array of those. And within each text area, it'll be an array of lines. And within each line, there'll be an array of words. And the reason they do that is because that way, if you wanted to and you wanted to manipulate that, you want to say, let's replace the third word in the 7th line of text area 2, then you could do that. And so that's what I'm doing here. And this is all through JavaScript. I've got a URL. I'm going to select a URL from a drop-down list. So I'll grab that, and I'll show the picture of the URL. I'm just using jQuery to do this. And then here's my, don't look at my subscription key. I got to hide all those. I got to regenerate them all tonight. And here I'm making a call to this web service. So in this case, the URL happens to be api.projectoxford.ai/vision/1.0, and then I'm going to pass in the headers, the subscription key, the content type. In the body, I'll pass in the URL of the image with the pictures on it. And when I'm done, it'll return some JSON, and I'll just loop through all those text areas. And with each text area, I loop through all the lines. With each line, I loop through all the words. In this case, I'm just going to output it as text. I'll just append, where am I here? Inside of a div, that's all. So let me run that thing. I don't know why I created this in Visual Studio. I could have just done the whole thing in Notepad. So here, the first one here, this is a poem by Robert Frost, Two roads diverge in the yellow wood. Oh, if I click get text, it'll call that service, and it did pretty good. The road, not two roads, it said TiVo instead of two. So the quality of the text makes a difference here, but almost the rest of the thing is all good. Let me grab this one's a little bit poorer quality text, but it still did a really good of this Longfellow poem. Down at the bottom, I've got some harder. This one is a text on dark paper with some splotches on it. And I marked the apostrophe D, it figured that out, where on a little promontory it stood, isolated. And this one here not only has dark paper with some texture to it, but also it's Old English, like my mistress eyes are nothing like the sun. Mistress is, the S is stylized, like we make Fs now. Back in the day, back in Shakespeare's day, they used to make S's like that. Well, it read it as my mistress eyes. And then the big letter M, didn't know what to do with that, so I put that on a separate line in here. So your quality of your reading will be directly proportional to the quality of the image that you have on here. All right, and then one more thing. I'll show you two more demos. I'll show you the text-to-speech demo. Let me see if my microphone is working well. So if I grab, I'm sorry, speech-to-text. This one's kind of cool. What this does is that as I call this API, I'm going to use a library for this one, but as I call the API, then it listens to everything I'm saying, and there's an event that fires every time it detects a short pause between words. And I can tap into that event to say, every time it detects a short pause between words, make a call to the web service and get back what it thinks I've said so far. And when it detects a long between the words, there's another event that fires that says, okay, he's done speaking, let's end the program. And what'll happen is that it'll take a guess as I'm speaking as to what the words are, but as it gets further along in the sentence, it'll realize, oh, word number 3, I guessed wrong. It doesn't really make sense in this context. I better change it. And hopefully you'll be able to see that. So if I run this thing here, and start recording, we'll stick with the poetry part of this. Let's see. What was it going to say? Whose woods are these? I think I know. His house is in the village, though he will not see me standing here to watch his woods fill up with snow. So this is another Robert. Another router. I think you saw that it went back and changed words as it found. Ultimately, it got most of it right, but not the first time. It was an iterative process. And the last one I'm going to do is just a cute little one I did that used several of these emotions, or several of these APIs. I didn't show you the thumbnail API. I better show you the thumbnail API just so you can see it. Thumbnail API is really simple. You would think that the thumbnails would be easy. If you have a picture and you want to turn it into a thumbnail, we'll just shrink it down. But it's really not that simple. What if you want to turn a square picture into a rectangle or a portrait into a landscape? You want to keep the main subject in the frame still. And so what Cognitive Services does is it'll remember, it'll figure out what the main part of the picture is, and it'll keep that in as it changes the size and shape of it. And so this one here, all I did, let me show you the code here. There's my subscription key. I'm using this library, the Vision Service Client Library. I'd used this before. I used a different method of it, but this time I'm going to use get thumbnail async. It returns a thumbnail, and then all I do is I just download that thumbnail as a series of bytes, and I save it in a test folder. And when I call it, I pass in my original picture. My original picture is this picture. I was in Stockholm last year. It's a picture of Stockholm Harbor. And so when I'm done, all I do is I just display the original picture and the thumbnail. So there's the original picture, and there's the thumbnail. That's all it's doing. And I'd show you that one because I wanted to show you the one that I created that combines a lot of these together. So in this one, I call it Emotions in Motion. Here we go. And if I grab this one, it has some thumbnail images in it. It has some facial recognition. It has some emotion recognition. I'm doing a lot of those things. And actually, this is online here. I'll just Emotions in Motion. I deployed it to Azure. Azure Web Sites.net. Hopefully I spelled that right. Emotions in Motion. Oh, we've got 7 minutes left. Let's try this again. Also, this is a website. Believe it or not, this website doesn't get hit that often. And the way the IIS works is if it hasn't been hit for a while, it just goes to sleep. Everything goes out of memory. So the first person that hits it pays that penalty. So you can see there's some thumbnails up here, pictures of this good-looking guy here, and then I've got an error message. I'm not sure why that's true. So I probably won't be able to. I'll do the Control F5, and I don't know what my error is. So I won't be able to show you this one here. Too bad, because it's pretty much the greatest app ever written. I will point you. I'm going to point you to a couple of resources here because I'm going to save 5 minutes for questions. I only have 6 minutes left. So if I go to here, I bring up my PowerPoint. Are you guys disappointed that I didn't have any PowerPoint up to this point? I do have like this right here, and there's my Oxford shirt and Oxford comma jokes, but that's not actually what I want to show you here. First, I want to show you the here's the Python for one of these calls. That's in Python 2.7. That's in Python 3.2. I think that's relevant to this audience here. If you know how to make a web service call, this should be easy for you. This is very simple stuff. It's for doing it in just about any language. Here's if you go to this URL right here, you'll see a bunch of resources that I've written. Let's see. And let me grab those. So you'll see blog posts that I've written. You'll see the link to my GitHub repository is here. I did some screencasts. The screencasts are pretty much a lot of the demos that you've seen today. Down here are some blog posts. I was on a podcast recently talking about this very topic here. I wrote some hands-on labs. If you want to go up through it step by step, there's some probably about 2 hours worth of material in there. The slides are in there, although the one slide with the Python code is not. I just added that last night. So this is a good starting point for any resource right here. And then also the other place you want to know is Microsoft.com. Again, you have to spell everything right. /cognitive services to get started on here. So those are the links that you want to see. And then these are the demos that I showed you. Whatdog.net, howold.net. And that is my presentation. I thank you very much, and I will stick around for questions. Thank you. All right, we've got about 5 minutes for questions. Or not. Yeah, absolutely.
So say I'm a machine learning researcher.
Yes.
I want to test out my new computer vision algorithm. Is there some way to register, like using SRML or something, a model that I've developed with APIs that you have set up, so I can take my model and take that?
Okay, so the question was, what if I've built my own machine learning model? Can I get that hooked into cognitive services? And the answer is the cognitive service is kind of a closed system. You basically get what you get. So that's abstracted away from you. So not in that case. However, if you're using the machine learning in Azure, there is a button down at the bottom which allows you to publish your findings as a web service, essentially with one click. So you can publish something similar to cognitive services using your own data, your own algorithms. Anything else? Yeah.
So I noticed that you also had a research page on there. So is it open about the models that are actually being used here? Like what
So the question is, do we have reference to any of the models that the cognitive services team is using? On the cognitive services site, I didn't see anything published on that. However, I think they have a blog, and they're revealing some of the stuff that they're doing. The Azure team and the cognitive services team have been really open about the kind of research that they're doing. So I'm not sure how detailed that is, but you could explore that. There is some stuff, but I don't know how much. Yeah, right here. Okay. So the question is there a drag and drop interface to Azure Machine Learning? Is that it? Okay, so Azure Machine, I didn't talk much about Azure Machine Learning. And Azure Machine Learning is a way for you to create your own machine learning solution. So there's a visual interface where you can drag and drop objects onto a design surface, and it saves you the trouble of writing a lot of code to do things like get my data from this source, or split it up that way, or set default values. So that part is just made a lot easier for it. It takes care of a lot of the plumbing code for you. And then you can write Python code in that. I mean, you can right-click and launch, what's the notebook, the Jupyter. You can and write Python code inside. So if you want to use this inside of some of your machine learning, absolutely, yeah. One of the shapes is called a web service. And you could call a web service. You could take your data and have a step for doing that. You could anything that can call a web service can call this. So it doesn't matter if it's a mobile app. You could be writing iPhone apps. You could be writing console apps. You could be writing web pages of JavaScript or machine learning. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Recognizing like brand logos. I'm sure. You have to test that. The question was, would it recognize something like the Nike logo? And it would probably shoes, for example, like the type of shoes. I don't really know. The question is, can I train it and augment myself? And the answer is no. This abstracts away a lot of that work for you. And there's always a trade-off between abstraction, which gives you less control but less work, and then getting down in the weeds, and then you get more control, but then you have to do all the work yourself. So ML Studio is where you want to go for something like that. All right, the next group is coming in. I will stick around for any more questions. I really love the questions here because the whole point of this talk is to get your mind thinking about, hey, I could use that on my next project, and I hope that's happened here today. So thank you so much. I'll be right in the back here after I pack up. Anybody's got any questions, I'm very happy to stick around.